Sean Pickett with Sales Integrity here. Thank you for listening to the Sales Integrity Podcast. I created a free course for you titled 7 Steps to Master the Game of Complex Technical Selling. To claim your free course, just visit mastercomplexselling.com. Again, that's mastercomplexselling.com, or simply text the word SI course to the number 44222. Again, that's SI as in Sales Integrity. So SI course, all one word with no space in between SI and course. Otherwise, you'll get an error message back. So simply text the word SI course to the number 44222. Now let's jump into the podcast. Now let's chat with today's guest, Dean Lindsay. Dean, are you ready to share some wisdom with Sales Integrity Nation today?
I am. Thank you, Sean.
Awesome. Happy to have you on the show, Dean. So let's get started. So Dean is a popular author, speaker, and coach, and chief marketing officer at Synclab Media. Dean is author of the book, The Progress Challenge, Working and Winning in a World of Change, and also the author of the book, Cracking the Networking Code, 4 Steps to Priceless Business Relationships. Dean is also the host of the new Dean's List web TV show you can find on YouTube. And Dean, that's a lot of great stuff there you're working on, and I know that's only scratching the surface, but nobody can introduce you better than you. So given that, take a moment to say hello to our audience. Tell us a little bit about yourself and let us know how you serve the sales profession as an industry leader.
Well, again, thank you, Sean, and you and I go way back, so it's really cool to be on this call with you. Everything you shared is absolutely true. A little over 17 years helping build progress-based sales, leadership, and customer service cultures. Got a brand new book coming out here in a couple of months called Big Fat Goals, and FAT stands for pretty hot and tempting, and that's exactly what we need to make our sales goals to ourselves. We've got to make them the fattest thing of the choices that we could, of how we could choose to invest our time. But I work both the conferences and conventions around the country and a few places outside of the U.S., and then quite a bit of consulting and coaching, really working on sales cultures, not just sales training.
That's awesome. Great intro. I look forward to diving more into detail on some of those things that you brought up there, especially the new book, and then talking a little bit about the books, the 2 other books that you've had. Of course, I've got my autographed Dean Lindsay signed copies of each, and it's on my bookshelf, and refer to it from time to time. As Dean mentioned, we go way back, so I'm real excited to have you on the show, Dean, and thanks for your time.
You bet.
Dean, the first question I always ask, you know I name my company Sales Integrity, and the word integrity means something different to a lot of people. There are some standard definitions for it, but I always like to first ask my guests, their take on that theme of sales integrity, or what it means for a sales professional to demonstrate integrity while selling. So how do you define sales integrity and just integrity in general?
Well, that's a really cool question. I thought about that in reference to when you named your organization Sales Integrity, and I know that there are kind of some cool terminology you can put together, but I guess it really kind of comes to that fine line between persuasion and influence moving into manipulation, and integrity is pulling back from that manipulation to where everything you're saying you really believe, and when you're stepping out there to connect with a prospect, you really believe that them choosing you and your company is the best for them. And if you truly feel that way, then you are congruent, or you are in integrity. So we can say do what you say and say what you'll do, that type of stuff. But I say it's really an internal feeling where because we as sales professionals, we got buttons we could push, but should they be pushed? That's the point. Sometimes I think that that's why I like what you called it, sales integrity, because you can get sales just to get sales. If you drop the word integrity, and you get a lot of one-time sales, but you're not going to get your repeat business, and then pretty soon the buzz is going to get bad. So integrity really is right where you're like, I'm moving from persuasion and influence to manipulation. And once you cross that line of manipulation, you are no longer working in integrity.
That is great. That's a great description. Influence persuasion, which positively done with great intentions, is the right way. Once you cross over that line, Dean saying that becomes manipulation. You're into that realm. You've crossed over out of the sales integrity realm. I think that's a really, really good outlook on that, Dean. I really appreciate you sharing that. That's a unique definition of it. I don't think we've heard before. We've had Jim Fortin on, who, as focuses on the influence persuasion realm. He had a different, different spin, different outlook on that as well. But yours is an excellent one as it relates to that, and I think that's the right approach there. So, Dean, at Sales Integrity, we have a mantra that we repeatedly teach the sales professionals that we coach, which is make your sales pop to achieve your goals. POP is naturally an acronym, stands for preparation, organization, and productivity. And we found these to be the key habits of all top sales achievers. So given that, Dean, my next three questions will address these three habits to get your take on each one. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. So first question, what is one scenario a sales professional should always be prepared for while interacting with prospects?
I think they need to be prepared for the variety of behavior styles and be willing to build a relationship and not get to the pitch or not get to the digging in. I think we need to ease into it, and I think the preparation also is a lot earlier than when you get in the car or head over to a sales call. I know in my early years, I might have been handling the business part right, but not necessarily preparing my mind and body. So I think now sales professionals need to be much more aware, keenly aware of the fuel they're putting in as far as the food and they're drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. I think preparation comes a long time before an actual moment with a prospect.
Yeah, so well-rounded preparation. Both personally and physically as well as mentally, and getting in the right mindset. I also like that you talked about the behavior styles, really preparing for that before you sit down with someone, just understanding who they are, what their behavioral style is like, and being able to, I'm assuming you're meaning tailor the communication style once you learn that.
You tailor. I mean, I work up DISC quite a bit, the DISC model: dominance, influence, steadiness, consciousness. I know there's a lot of different ones, but a lot of them kind of play off the same different scenarios. But it's really more of an awareness and a willingness to modify or mirror or just be. And this is a phrase that came to me the other day. I always said this: be unoffendable. And sometimes we think of unoffendable as like someone's trying to tell you off and you don't take offense, but it also could be them not relating to the sales call the same way you would like, and you don't get offended by that. Just ease into it and take it the next way. So I think prepare to be unoffendable. Oh, I like that. Use that. Cut all the rest of that stuff out. Just say that.
There you go. I like it. Prepare to be unoffendable. I like it. You're onto something there. All right. Second question. What technology or tool would you recommend to help a sales professional become more organized?
Wow. I probably need to go back and look at these podcasts and listen and do all the stuff already that everybody else is already doing. I think it's crazy hard right now. I think it's crazy hard. Am I talking to that person on LinkedIn? Am I talking to that person in a text? Am I messaging that person? Is that person, in the meeting at this time? I mean, the Facebooking? There's so many different ways to get, I'm not sure how many different ways you and I communicated to, set up this interview. So no, I think organization is a really tough thing. And oddly enough, I'm going to go back to my new holistic thing. And what you need to do more than any other tool, more than Salesforce, more than anything, is prepare your mind and just take breaths and take it easy. Not take it easy, but get focused and no gadget or whatever is gonna unfrazzle your noggin unless you got to do that yourself. So I'm gonna stick with this holistic thing I got going.
All right, sounds good. So let's go to the third question. How can a sales professional improve productivity to get more done in less time?
I think if a sales professional needs to focus on being effective more than being efficient. So in that sense, it's pretty much kind of do the next right thing right. With conviction, as Pat Benatar says, with conviction there is no sacrifice. You can't do it all, but you can do everything you want if you truly have an internalized why. So I'm not sure if you can do more in the same amount of time, but I do think you can do more you'll be pleased with in the same amount of time if you truly understand what's most important. There's so many choices of how we could choose to invest our time now. It's also back to it in reference to how they do more in less time is having the patience to listen, because my stuff really comes off of progress, what I call a series of progress-based impressions. But if you really get to know or really learn something from the prospect, and you're able to make that next impression in such a progress way in their mind, you can move the ball down the field a lot faster. So it's been a blend between listening and then getting very congruent as to what matters most to you.
That's great. So let's go with that theme of progress-based impressions and talk a little bit about some of the work that you've done. First, starting with your book, the Progress Challenge, Working and Winning in a World of Change. So I'm assuming your progress-based impressions, I'm kind of leading you here into it. It comes from your thoughts that went into writing that book and then sharing that with the world and going out and speaking around that particular topic.
Oh yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
the
actual concept of progress-based impressions started in Cracking the Networking Code, and then I really dug a lot further into it in the Progress Challenge. But you're absolutely right. It's about progress versus change. And that's exactly the same thing with the sales professional. No one's going to sell something. No one's going to buy something from you if they think it's change. They got to view it as progress. All progress is change, but not all change is progress. So when we're out there talking with people, we need to be able to, and communicating with people, prospects, strategic alliances, people could be referral sources, whatever. They have to view us, our products, our services, our recommendations as progress and not change. And so to take that one step further, in my study around this concept, I've found that everything we do, when I say we, I mean sales professionals, prospects, parents, kids, teachers, everybody, sales managers, everything we do, consciously or subconsciously, we do because we believe the perceived consequences. That's not necessarily the consequences we're going to get. That's the consequences we think we're going to get. The perceived consequences of those actions are that we're going to feel unique, right mixture of what I've labeled the 6 P's of progress: pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain avoidance, and power. Pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain avoidance, and power. And they're introduced in Cracking the Networking Code, and then each one of those 6 P's have a chapter in the Progress Challenge. But if you look at any product or service, it really comes down, people don't want your product or your service. They want what the product or service will do to them, do for them, or help them, make them feel. And they need to be able to feel pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain avoidance, and power. So and then when you're building a relationship with somebody or even a product or services, that's what I mean by progress-based impressions. It's not about impressions. It's about that impression has to be a positive one, a progress-based one for that person to want to move towards you.
That is great. So are you saying progress-based impressions or you're saying impressions, right? So that's kind of a touch point? Is that just to clarify?
Yeah, impressions. It was originally, touch point, or it could be marketing point. I mean, it's anything, email, everything's an impression. All marketing, all sales, all sales calls, everything. These are all just, all of it plays as far as building your case for if you and your products and services are progress or change.
Yeah, that is great. So the one phrase that you have etched in my mind since I met you early on and talked to you, already brought it up here, which is all progress is change, but not all change is progress. that is kind of the epiphany type point, right? Where you just kind of think about that. And if people are going in, this is kind of the terminology in the tech industry where people say, I've got disruptive technology. You probably heard that before, right? Oh,
Yeah.
disruptive technology. And that always going to bother me. Who wants to be disrupted, right? I mean, you're kind of describing it, in my opinion, in a negative term where you can go in and talk about it a little bit more in terms of progress based,
Yeah, it's progress. But that's the whole thing about change management. I've never understood that why people use that term change management. The people at the top aren't trying to change the company. They're trying to make help the organization progress. They think it's the next right thing to do. It's not change management. It's progress leadership.
Yeah. Yeah. And now there will be those that say, you got to look at the pain and pleasure principle, and people take action far more to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. And the progress side of it is viewing more of the pleasure side versus change, which is poking at a negative one. But I think it's the way you communicate it, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head when you say it's about how people feel about it, what it does for them, what the solution provides for the organization in a B2B realm. And so I think you could still, poke on the pain to begin with to get the attention, but continue the awareness of what you're trying to do to help them along the way. Then it comes down to those progress-based impressions, right?
Well, one of the 6 P's is pain avoidance. So I mean, it's built in. It is progress for me to move away from a robber.
Yeah.
It's progress for me to move away from somebody who wants to punch me. It's progress for me to take an aspirin when I have a headache.
Yep, that is true. That is true. So that is great. So that book, I absolutely love that book, and I've always liked your unique spin on that because it does focus more on the positive, but it does highlight, up front. Here's, as you had mentioned, one of the is pain avoidance. So
you know what I hope it also does, Sean, is for any sales professional who gets a client or a prospect who says they don't like change. It's not really true. It's not that they don't like change. We wake up every day for things to get better. And that is change. That's just progress. That's the change we want. Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world. Well, if it's the change you want to see in the world, then it's your version of progress.
Yeah, that's great.
So, next time somebody says they don't like change, offer them a raise.
Yep.
They're going to turn down a raise. You're not going to turn down a raise. Well, that is change, kids. So we teach you how to lose 10 pounds. That's change. It's just the change we want. So it's how it's positioned in our mind. It's not just the cold hard fact that that's. There's new TV shows, there's new movies. It's all changed. It's all different. It's just how it's viewed.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we have a chance. People, everybody wants pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain avoidance, and power. And if you hang in there enough with a prospect and ask them enough questions and find out some way that you can offer more pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain avoidance, and power than who they're using, or help them solve a problem not using anybody, then they'll consider using you. And that's how you lost a client as well. The way you lost clients is because the other person promised. It's not even, there's no guarantee of progress, but some other person came in and says, oh, we can do it faster, cheaper, quicker, whatever, and which still goes back to the 6 P's of progress. And then they got the client. And then have you ever lost a client and then got them back? Well, that's because those were the perceived consequences you thought you were going to get versus the actual consequences you actually did get. And then you got those real consequences. You get, I got manipulated. That wasn't a very integrity-based sale right there. I got to go back to who I was using before.
Yeah, that's right. Well, speaking of going back, let's go back a little bit before the Progress Challenge and talk about cracking the networking code. So what's the major premise of that book, and how can sales professionals today benefit from that concept?
Well,
that major premise?
Yeah, thanks, Sean. When I was really jazzed when the book first came out, I was very, very, very pleased when I got a email back from the VP of training for New York Life who read the book and said this book could have just as easily been called Cracking the Prospecting Code. And I was like, man, that's cool. That helps a lot. Networking is a huge part of sales development, and networking is not just going to networking functions. You can network, tons of places. I don't believe you and I have originally met at a networking function. I'm not 100% sure on that, but the The key, though, is to understand that it does take that series of what I call progress-based impressions. And then when I put the book together, it was tons of tips, tons of strategies. But then I formulated it around 4 major steps, and that makes up the C, the O, the D, and the E, the 4 steps to going from net to net and building what I call priceless business relationships, which is far beyond selling somebody something. And a priceless business relationships there's a lot of other things that can go into just better quality of life and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, exactly right, exactly right. And it's interesting because you look at the way like B2B tech sales professionals who are the makeup of our, the major makeup of our audience here. You got this whole debate between cold calling versus social selling, and you got the social selling revolution. But at the core of all of that is really networking and strategic relationships, and it's kind of who you know, who knows you, and these priceless business relationships, isn't it?
Yeah, it sure is. Now, I know we talked a little bit beforehand. But where is networking social selling, or social selling everything online?
So that's a great question. It's a great question. I believe it sits in the middle, to where it kind of brings social selling and the different tools that are associated with that. But you could also warm up a cold call by getting it at the very least intel through your network on what's going on at some companies that you're targeting,
You bet.
right? So to me, it benefits both the cold calling realm and the social selling realm, and it sits in the middle. But to me, it's the core. It sits in the
I would
middle,
agree with that. That's what I was asking, because between the 3, I think networking is the key.
Yeah, yeah, exactly right. And especially in a complex technical B2B sale, it's hugely important. And that's exactly why I wanted to bring up, both your books are so dead on, accurate and relevant and timely still for those in this profession, because you got to be able to communicate change in a positive manner. And you have a complete blueprint on how to do that in the Progress Challenge. But you also have to leverage your network, and that the priceless business relationships could be the difference of opening up a door to that big account a lot sooner than you just trying to put content out there and wait for them to find you, or just cold call them directly and try and crack in there, right?
So you bet, and that's exactly right, Sean. A few years ago, I actually did kind of hang back and not network near as much, and was doing just pretty much everything, Facebook and LinkedIn and videos and stuff. And my sales suffered because I wasn't out there, connected. And I'm not saying you don't do one and not the other, but as I got out there more and then stayed with it as far as, the social media and social selling aspect, there's just a lot more interaction that's led to, tons of opportunities that I didn't, even see coming. So, the other great thing, especially for technology, is people move around. So if you stay connected with somebody through your social channels, and they move over to a new organization, I mean, be a slam dunk for a new client.
Yep, I notice that all the time, and I was just noticing that earlier this week. When going through LinkedIn, so okay, it's time for me to reach out. My CRM pops up and tells me, okay, you got some folks that you got to reach out to now. I always do my research ahead of time, go look, and I see, okay, it's been 6 months, but these are people I'm keeping in touch with through the network, and they've moved on to a new, new company. So that could be a new target market account for you, to get into something like that, or at least a whole new set of relationships that individual could potentially introduce you to, and more importantly, you could help them in their newer role.
That's right.
As well. So it goes both ways there, which is good. So obviously all these things start off with goals, right? You got to have these big fat goals, as you talk about, and you got that as a new book that's going to be coming out. So why don't you tell us a little bit about big fat goals, and is this a book that's coming out soon? Is it already out? I mean, tell us a little bit about that so people know about.
Yeah, you bet. No, big fat goals comes out in May, and I'm really and obviously pleased with it. It's about crafting big fat goals. It's about crafting goals in such a way that you're propelled towards working on their achievement, that you see them, still by vernacular, that you see them as offering you more progress than all the other choices of things you choose, you could do. I go off of kind of a Nietzsche quote: if you have a strong enough why, you'll figure out how. And so, and I'm all for plans, but our best laid plans are not going to get us somewhere we're not committed to going. So it's really about the commitment, and then the moment by moment commitment. It's very easy to craft a goal or set a goal. That's not hard. Setting a goal is easy, but it's the actual staying committed to it. And I'm not a big fan of reminding people about a goal, because that can really just upset them and get them depressed. And, but if you remind yourself about the benefits behind the goal, how is that goal's achievement and working towards that goal, whether it's a team goal or a personal goal, how is it helping you feel pleasure, peace of mind, profit, prestige, pain, avoidance, and power? So that's what the FAT acronym is. That comes from, or it stands for pretty, hot, and tempting. And that's what your goals have to be to yourself. That's what our products and services have to be to our prospects. It has to be fat, has to be attractive. And I don't mean, ooh la la, I want to smooch you, or ooh la la, I want to only do one particular thing. It's ooh la la, I want to alter my life to either have that product, have that service, and or reach that goal. You're going to have to do something differently than you were doing before. And everything we do for reasons. So everything we're doing right now, all 24 hours in a day, you have reasons for doing it. Well, you're going to have better reasons to do something different. Not just a goal, but the reasons behind the goal. So that's what Big Fat Goals is. It's really a goal commitment and recommitment program, or both.
Awesome. So leveraging a little bit of slang from pop culture with the fat, the pretty, hot, and tempting. I like it.
Yeah. Well, that's been around for. I've had the fat was the very first. Big Fat Goals was the very first program I created when I first got started for Western Union, and didn't do a whole lot with it, and then here it comes back again. But it is, it's very hip. I mean, very, very hip.
Yeah, it's hip. It's in the it's from the musical aspect of life. And for those that don't know Dean, he's got a musician in him. Why don't you talk a little bit about that, just real quick, and how does that fuel your creative side? Because in sales, we got to be creative. Right? And I wrote an article recently on what sales professionals and musicians have in common. I think there's a lot of parallels from that.
I'd like to see that article. Please send it to me. Music. I'm very pleased with the music projects that I have out there. I've got a 3-song EP on Spotify. You can just look up Dean Lindsay, or go to YouTube and put in Dean Lindsay, and then the song that I'm most pleased with is called Long Breath In. But I have Sunday afternoons are just carved out. Every Sunday afternoon I drive to a studio and work with a engineer / musician guru, and we're deep into the next track. And it's a very much of a release and a way to keep my mind working 24/7, really, or not so when I'm sleeping, but it gives me a break from other aspects of what I might be doing. But no, thanks for asking. I am really pleased about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've heard Dean's music. It's really, really good. So I suggest you'll go out and take a listen to that. So that's great that you're on Spotify as well. So
yeah. Dean Lindsay, Long Breath In, and Long Breath In's actually getting quite a bit of independent radio play around the world.
I'm gonna go listen to it. Have I heard that one? Was that one of the ones you told me to listen to previously, or is that newer?
I'm not sure, my friend. I'm not sure, but it's worth listening to again if you've only heard it once. So I think
I take copious notes during these podcast interviews, because I always learn a lot of good stuff from our guests. So I took that one down to go check that out.
Yeah, please. Yeah, I'd love to know what you think about it.
Sure, I will. Absolutely. So let's shift gears a little bit. We alluded to this a little bit earlier, talking about social selling, cold calling, and this seems to be kind of, it's almost like a political debate, right? You got cold calling on one side, social selling on the other. It's like liberals and conservatives and all this stuff. So what's your take on the mix of, is cold calling dead or not? Is it useful? And then, how does that compare to social selling? Is social selling like the, thing to do? I just want Dean Lindsay's spin on both these topics. Do they play together? Are they one better than the other? Just kind of free form thoughts here. I'd love to get your opinion to share that with our audience.
Well, since sales really is about creativity and attraction, I think it's really hard to make a cold call attractive, and so I try to be as creative as possible so that I don't make cold calls. I might warm up a call from trying to get a referral from somebody or an introduction from somebody, and so then I wouldn't call that a cold call, but so I'd say social selling and networking, which leads to somewhat lukewarm calls at times, but it's been a long time since I've just called a total stranger that I didn't think had some kind of a positive opinion of something I was doing.
Yeah. I think the days of here's a manager giving a list of 100 accounts to a sales rep saying, okay, start smiling and dialing. Here's the company names, and here's maybe even the contact names of their titles, and even if it's direct dials. I think there's something to say for, hey, let's do some research. Even buyers are more well informed nowadays. They're doing a lot of research on the internet. There's this thing called the World Wide Web that's out there, right? They can go to and take a look at things. So the social selling side of things, you do need to be out there. You have to have established credibility. You have to have some good valuable content, or what I call tangible value assets. But on the flip side, there is something about taking action and going outbound and doing that in a smart way, not necessarily cold. And you could talk about warming it up, all you want, but you got to do some research. You got to be informed yourself. Buyers are informed. As sellers, we need to be informed as well. So I think there's
absolutely. And between websites and LinkedIn and articles people have written, and I mean, there's not only do you get informed, but you also have ways to remember. One of the 6 P's is prestige, and pleasure is another one. But if you actually read an article that somebody was part of, or that they shared something, or their company won a prize or something, and you're able to say something about that, that gives them a little bit of prestige and makes them feel a little, gives them a little bit of progress. It's not going to slam dunk them, $500 million sale, but it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's all about with at least net new prospects you're trying to connect with. It's about unique connection points, and if you can get as creative as possible to do that, and it's value based, then you're going to be in great shape, right? And there's just a lot. It takes some critical thinking time, some creative thinking time mixed in with that to come up with what are all the right ways for me to reach out, to those target market prospects, right? But I do think it takes effort in outbound efforts to do that. It's not put out some value-based content in the stratosphere and sit back and wait for the leads to come raining out of the sky, right?
Yeah, no, it's a long shot.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Dean. Well, we're nearing the end of our time together today, so that means one thing: it's time for the sales cycle. Now, the sales cycle is not only a process, of course, that all sales professionals have to manage when they generate leads and they become opportunities, or they're guiding them through the sales cycle. It's also the name of our lightning round, where I ask questions in rapid fire format and look for quick answers but valuable answers from our guests. So to make this fun, Dean, we're going to see how fast you can get through the sales cycle. We time this. We time all our guests on the sales cycle to see how quickly they can get through it. Now, keep in mind, we want to balance speed with value, right? So answer them, quick, succinct, but also, one-word answers. I'll probably ask you to elaborate a little bit so our audience has some takeaways from our answers.
There can be 2 winners. One's the shorter. What's the longest? What's the longest anybody's ever taken?
I've never had anyone ask that question. I think
because I just want to get in the book somewhere.
That's great. Well, I can tell you the shortest is Jim Fortin. He set the benchmark.
Jim, I can understand that.
Yeah, 2 minutes and 11 seconds. That's the time to beat. 2 minutes and 11 seconds. So just keep that in mind. I got my trusty little timer here on the iPhone, so we'll start.
But you're saying I need to be. But you're saying I need to be effective and not just efficient.
There you go. That's back to your earlier advice. Be effective but also efficient, right? So
because I can answer this questions really quickly and be efficient.
Yes, but you got to be both. You got to balance effectiveness and efficiency, right?
7. My answer is 7.
Well, that's funny you bring that up. There are actually 7 questions in the
are they? Okay.
Sales cycle. How about that? Nice little segue there. Nice little transition.
Well, I've stretched. I've been stretching here. Now I'm ready.
I got to bring you on the road with me here, right? Okay, so let's jump in. We're going to start the clock right now. Question number 1: name a specific technology or tool you use for identifying and researching target market prospects.
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn? Okay.
Yes.
Question number 2. What is the best method to initially get the attention of and connect with your target market prospects?
networking function that caters to their industry.
Excellent. Question number 3. What method do you use to consistently stay top of mind if your prospects aren't ready to buy just yet?
Positive, upbeat articles and JPEGs via LinkedIn. So I got to make sure I'm linked into them.
Okay, great. Question number 4. What sales process methodology do you use to manage opportunities through the sales cycle, whether a formal one or you have your own process?
Yeah, mine's just kind of a Dean ad hoc thing with cards and stuff. I probably need some help with that one.
Okay, sounds good. Well, that's a very honest answer. I like that. Question number 5.
I don't like it. I'm actually very upset by that answer.
Well, I'll loop back around with you after. Question number 5.
You know anybody can help me
You
with
like that? I think so. I think I know some. Question number 5.
some.
How do you define the concept of closing a sale?
That's all that does. I would define closing a sale as I don't know how you ever close a sale. I think you open an opportunity. I guess somebody's got to pay. So I guess I don't have it's not a sale to me until there's a check.
All right, that'll work. Question number 6. How do you know when it's time to close a sale for any given opportunity?
Probably some laughter.
Some laughter. Okay, that's a unique one. And final question, last question. What is your best advice for sales achievers to improve their closing ratio?
Breathe, drink a lot of water, eat protein, just get enough sleep.
All right. So do you want to know what your time was? We just hit the clock there.
What did I do? How did I do?
2 minutes and 23 seconds. You just missed it.
He just made it. Well, yeah, that's dang it.
It was 2 minutes and 11 seconds. You were 2:23. You paused on one. The sales process methodology tripped you up a little bit. If you didn't have that, you were moving along. You were flying through it.
Just cut that out. No, that's true. Well, it's where my Achilles heels. I think it's just kind of it's just and I'm not saying I dislike it because I'm used to it and I'm 49 years old. So I mean this is kind of just the way we're going to do this. But I guess it's because I I'm not just a straight up just sales, so I guess I try to, and I did this, me personally, I try to write really good books and really good, programs and that type of stuff so that I don't have to, I'm trying to be attractive. I'm trying to attract opportunities. So I don't do as well with calling somebody else to, so yeah, that's some stuff I'd probably leaving opportunities, out there. So I can get better, man. I can get better.
We can all get better, and and certainly a process that you kind of walk through that's systematic and repeatable will help you kind of not drop the ball and stay on top of everything. But I'll tell you, your answer there, what you just said in terms of your books, you write really good, meaningful books. Those are your tangible value assets. As I teach sales professionals, you've got the ultimate. A book is the ultimate tangible value asset. You can hand that off. It could, it positions you as the subject matter expert, the go-to specialist in your field. So to me, that's if you're not going to have a process and a step-by-step approach to the funnel, that's a great way to shorten those cycles and lead in with authority, if you will. But on the flip side, you make a good point. You're not a pure sales professional. For pure sales professionals that are out there, you definitely are going to have a methodology, a process to guide opportunities through the sales cycle.
Yeah, which is even more importantly I wasn't teasing about the other stuff. I think there's so much. I don't want to call it burnout because I wish it was burnout. It's not burnout. They're still there. So it's just worn out and still there.
Yep.
So, and that's what I'm saying is check yourself and get yourself straight. You're not a sales professional, man. You're a person on this earth, rocking and rolling. And if you get bogged down by just some kind of just a sales, the only thing you're not going to have any fun.
Yep. Yeah, we always talk about having sales professionals look at themselves as their sales business is their own company within an enterprise, and they should have a funded entrepreneur mindset. Right. So if you look at yourself as an entrepreneur that's being funded by the company as your venture capitalist, that removes the risk for you. Now you're building a business, a company within a business, if you will. Then it's not just the sales thing as you had called it, right?
I love that.
I think I'm definitely.
That is absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap up the show, Dean, with your number one piece of advice for complex technical B2B sellers and with how people can best connect with you.
Is that 2 questions?
It's 2. Let's start with the first one. What's your number one piece of advice for our audience, for our listeners?
Smile.
Smile
and have a reason to smile. Be interesting, but don't force it. Be curious, I guess would be, I want to change that to care, which actually builds in smile and be curious. Care about the person you're talking to. That's what I'd say. And then how to connect with me, DeanLindsay.com, DeanLindsay.com. My personal email is dean@DeanLindsay.com. I'd love to connect with anybody. Anybody wants to connect with me on LinkedIn, my email, dean@DeanLindsay.com. Find me at LinkedIn, Dean Lindsay.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Dean. I really appreciate it. And this has been a lot of fun going through this and catching up here and then having you provide and share a lot of your wisdom, with our audience today. And thank you to all the sales achievers out there who took the time to listen to today's interview. I appreciate it and look forward to everyone applying those ideas that Dean provided during today's interview. So now let's wrap up today's episode with a few quick reminders.
First, we recently launched 2 new B2B tech sales professional groups, one on LinkedIn and one on Facebook. Just search for B2B tech sales professionals on either LinkedIn or Facebook, or both if you want to join both groups, and join the conversation with your peers there. Second, if you haven't already subscribed to our free 7-day video email course titled 7 Steps to Master the Game of Complex Technical Selling, then you can do so by visiting mastercomplexselling.com. Again, that's mastercomplexselling.com, or you can text the word SI course, so as in sales integrity, SI course, all one word with no spacing in between. If you send it with a space between SI and course, you'll receive an error message back. So text the word SI course to the number 44222. After subscribing, we will send you your first lesson via email right away on day 1 and then one for the next 6 days. Third, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or SoundCloud. Just search for the Sales Integrity Podcast with Sean Pickett, and it should pop up and allow you to subscribe on one of those 2 channels. After you subscribe, please provide a quick 5-star rating and simple 1 to 2 sentence review to help others find the show. To provide a review on iTunes isn't as simple as you think. You can't do so directly within the podcast. What you have to do is actually click on the search icon, then type in Sales Integrity, and you will see my podcast there. Now, I'm referring to the purple podcast icon. When you click on that on your iPhone, brings up the main podcast center. Down below, you'll see the search icon. So click on that, type in Sales Integrity, and you'll see the podcast there. Click on the podcast. In it, you'll see the reviews tab in the middle there. Just click on that. And once there, you could provide a 5-star rating and simple 1 or 2 sentence review. Now, since iTunes prioritizes shows with the most ratings and reviews higher than those that have just a few of them, this will dramatically help the show be found by more people. So I greatly appreciate it. And finally, please share the podcast with your colleagues and friends who would find it relevant. You can do so by going to salesintegrity.com and click on the Sales Integrity Podcast menu link at the top of the page. All of the podcasts are there, and it provides you a way to click a button and share any episode, whether via email directly to individuals, or there's buttons there to share it on the various social media sites, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, etc. So I would greatly appreciate it if you spread the word about the show on social media to help grow it. And finally, that'll do it for today's episode. Now go out there in the sales world today and help your prospects and customers buy what they want, what they need, and what benefits them. And most importantly, go out there and make it a great day.